Welcome to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast, your weekly news roundup of hunting, fishing, trapping, and conservation stories from around the Gem State. Hosted by Fish and Game's Public Information Specialist, Connor J. Lease.
Welcome back to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast. Lots to talk about today, including big game season-setting proposals, applying for spring turkey-controlled hunts, and the 18th annual Sportsmen Against Hunger event in Chubbuck. But first, I sit down with born and raised Idahoans Vicki Connor and Dallin Lamson, the two artists behind this year's Fish and Game hard card designs.
Voila!
In the world of hunting, fishing, and trapping, experiences are often the highest form of reward for the time spent pursuing fish and wild game and connecting to nature. Sportsmen and sportswomen, similar to artists, collate their own personal book of experiences enthusiastically shared at the dinner table or around the campfire. But at the intersection of outdoor experience and artistic expression lies some of the finest personal reflections of lifetimes spent hunting, fishing, and trapping. Stories of big bucks, cold marshes, legendary fish, and steep mountains told in the form of acrylic paint or strokes from a colored pencil. To celebrate the work of local outdoor artists, Idaho Fish and Game offers you a hard card, a durable plastic card that fits right in your wallet, bino harness, or tackle box, featuring original art created by local artists. Aside from it just being a handy way of keeping all your licenses and tags in one place, hard cards capture the beauty and unique expression of an artist who understands the same inexplicable joy that comes with hunting, fishing, and trapping as you. As the official hard cards start to hit the market, I sat down with local artists Dallin Lamson and Vicki Connor to learn what experiences drive their imagination. Like so many wildlife artists, experiences shape expression, and let's just say Dallin Lamson has had his share of outdoor experiences. Born and raised and still calling Pocatello home, Lamson met the art world head-on at an early age. Lamson's father, Hayden, was also a renowned wildlife artist and passed down his love of painting to his third child of 8. Quote, "If it's walked on the North American continent, I've probably painted it," he says. But at a young age, Lamson not only gained valuable experiences in his dad's studio, but in the mountains as well. Quote, "Hunting was always a big part of the culture in my family," Lamson said. And it wasn't just rabbits and whitetails at first. Right out of the gate, Lamson successfully harvested a bull Shiras moose as a teenager, followed by a rare opportunity to hunt a mountain goat, which just so happens to be the subject of his 2025 hard card design. But more on that later. In the years to follow, Lamson found himself continuously back in the mountains pursuing, as he puts it, mostly mule deer and elk, and mostly in the great state of Idaho. In addition to big game species, Lamson also admits finding enjoyment in chasing ruffed grouse and cottontail rabbits with his dogs. Now, not trying to split hairs here, but a frantic rabbit ain't exactly as grandiose as a glittering white goat basking in the alpenglow. And I think Lamson might agree. His depiction of the contemplative, sure-footed goat titled Sunny Delight was painted using oil paints on an 18 by 24 inch canvas. Quote, "Before I started, I wanted to create a sense of the goat being way up there," Lamson said, as anyone who's ever pursued mountain goats can probably attest. Lamson's mountain goat, stopping its graze momentarily to gaze across at some unseen rival peak or perhaps a clumsy rock dislodging hunter, is beautifully tinged by a misty sun. To see this piece in full scale, as well as several other Dallin Lamson original paintings and drawings, check out his website at www.dallin, that's D-A-L-L-E-N, Lamson, like the sheep, and if it had a son, art.com. Also, be sure to follow Dallin Lamson on Instagram and Facebook. Now, veteran fly anglers, shifting gears here, begin their day's work by carefully studying the water's insects, and more specifically, sometimes even turning over rocks. Once a fish's potential food source has been predicated, the fly angler rummages through his or her fly box to carefully match the hatch, as the kids say. It's that same expert-level attention to detail that eagle artist Vicki Connor applies to the canvas. That's Eagle, Idaho, by the way, not the bird. The details can be maddening, she says, putting it lightly. Now imagine 300 hours worth of details. That's approximately how long Connor says it took her to complete that quintet of sockeyes you see on this year's Fish and Game hard card license. Vicki Connor has been painting and drawing nearly all her life. She and her husband Don got married shortly after high school and moved down to Alabama while Don was in the Army. It was there, amidst a thriving art community within the military base, that Connor began to hone her craft and skill. Connor and her husband eventually moved back home to the Treasure Valley, where the two began exploring Idaho's wide array of rivers and streams. For Don, a bamboo fly rod craftsman, and Vicki, now a professional wildlife artist, it was paradise. Quote, "My very first drawing was a brown trout that Don had caught on the Owyhee River," Connor said. Quote, "I started by mostly drawing other fish, birds, insects, botanicals, and rocks." Yes, even rocks. Spend enough time wading around a swift river or stream, and you might be surprised how often your eyes are looking down in the water at them. Connor's attention to detail in her artwork goes as far as capturing the rocks and insects that play second fiddle to the colorful fish in the foregrounds. It might be a little difficult to see what I mean if you're looking at your 2x3-inch hard card, but if you observe the artwork's original 16x24-inch canvas, your eyes will quickly trace the sockeye's belly to the delicately painted cobbles along the stream bed. Quote, "I've always been a rock hound," she said, adding that the rocks depicted in the sockeye painting were actually taken from her backyard. Although Connor notes missing the art community back in Alabama, she quickly points out that one of the most rewarding parts of painting Idaho's fish is Idaho's fishing community. She says, quote, "I've been so grateful to work with local fly shops here. Quote, they are a great place to display my artwork and have been really supportive." So next time you're poking around a fly shop between Boise and Bozeman, keep your eyes peeled for Vicki's insignia, a small letter V adorned with antenna imprinted in the corner of a classic Western fishing scene done in colored pencil. But if you can't wait until then, you can help yourself to Vicki's full catalog of artwork, ranging from classic flies to etchings of stoneflies to custom portraits of man's best friend, all available on her Facebook. And to see both artist designs on this year's hard cards, hit the link in the description and pick yourself up one or two the next time you're snagging your tag. Folks, they're super handy to have. I always get two. I keep one in my fly fishing chest mount and then another one in my bino harness for when I'm out hunting. And it's fabulous. You have everything you need right there in a card. All right, next up, it's a quick one. We got big game season setting proposals. Well, almost. The proposals haven't been posted yet as of this recording, but Fish and Game is going to be setting new big game seasons for deer, elk, pronghorn, black bear, wolf, and mountain lion in March. And hunters will be able to comment on season proposals between February 8th and the 23rd. And if you're sitting there thinking, hey, didn't you say the 22nd last week? Yeah, you're right, I did. I apologize. That was my slip up. The final date is going to be the 23rd. Hunters can easily check out the proposals on the Big Game season setting webpage once they have been posted at idfg.idaho.gov/comment. Proposals should be posted in early February. Big Game seasons will be finalized by the Fish and Game Commission during its March 26th meeting in Boise. The application period for big game controlled hunts runs May 1st through June 5th. The public comment process will also include meetings hosted by Fish and Game's regional offices at the time and dates listed on our website. These public meetings are right around the corner, so if you're interested in coming to one of them, hit the link in the description to see the full lineup of dates and also be ready for when the proposals are posted. Short and sweet on that one. All right, let's move on to ice fishing. If you haven't tried ice fishing, you're missing out on a fun, inexpensive winter activity that's a great way to catch lots of tasty fish. Prime ice conditions for fishing varies by region depending on climate, elevation, and other factors, but typically late December through mid-February are going to be good. 3 to 4 inches of solid ice is the minimum to support a person, and thicker ice is needed for groups. Conditions can also quickly change, so use good judgment before heading out on the ice, and remember you're responsible for your own safety. No matter where you live, an ice fishing destination is probably within a couple hours drive and likely no more than 3 hours. If you don't live near one, make it a weekend trip and stay at a motel, or if you have an RV, check if there's a place to stay, preferably with electric hookups to run a heater. Think of it as a mini vacation and a fun winter getaway. Ice fishing is not just another fishing trip, it's a whole different type of fishing experience. You can make it as simple or as technical as you really want. To start, what you do is you drop a baited hook through the ice and wait. It's really that simple. But as you progress, you can add multiple rods, up to 5 per person, various baits and tackle, electronics, and maybe a sled, snowmobile, or ATV to get all your gear out to prime fishing spots. Now, there's no getting around it. You're standing on a sheet of ice, but think of it as the opposite of the old cliche, but it's a dry heat. On a calm, sunny day, it can be amazingly comfortable on the ice, even when the thermometer is reading single digits. Part of that is the radiant heat from the sun, and the other part is dressing in layers so you can add or subtract clothing and adapt to temperature changes throughout the day. Now, ice fishing may seem specialized, but part of it is because it's the only type of fishing that requires an ice auger. But aside from that, nearly any fishing gear will work. If you decide to buy your gear, an ice fishing rod and reel combo is super inexpensive, and honestly a lot of fun to fish with because even a modest-sized fish feels big. Check out Fishing Game's ice fishing page for more information about ice fishing basics, where to ice fish, and important safety information. Like all fishing, there are no guarantees that the fish are going to bite. But when they start biting, fishing can be fast-paced because you're trying to hook and land fish and keep all your lines baited in the water. Catch a few fish through the ice and you will quickly understand why people get hooked on ice fishing. Maybe try bringing a camping stove or grill, some food, your favorite beverages, camp chairs, a heater, etc. The only challenge is getting all your gear out on the ice. But an inexpensive plastic toboggan can haul a surprising amount of cargo. If you have a snowmobile or ATV, there are trailers and sleds that are great for hauling more cargo. Adding food and drinks, especially warm meals and hot drinks, makes the outing more comfortable and enjoyable. Now, there's no shortage of space on a frozen lake, which is not always the case when you're trying to squeeze people into a boat or even, plug up the shorelines with limited fishing space. The whole lake, reservoir, or pond is available and everyone has room to spread out. You can also try other spots by just walking across the ice. Kids love ice fishing because they can play and have fun on the ice if fishing slows down a bit. Now, the final benefit that Roger mentions in his story is that the fish taste better. That may sound like an old wives' tale or a boast by ice anglers, but there is scientific evidence that backs it up. The so-called muddy taste you sometimes hear about from fish can be caused by blue-green algae, which can proliferate during warmer months. Blue-green algae is gone or greatly diminished in cold and frigid water, so it no longer affects the fish's taste. Ice fishing is traditionally about catching fish for eating, so indulge but stay within the bag limits, which you can find in the fishing rules booklet. For more about ice fishing, check out Roger Phillips' story on our website. And with that, it's time for the Rapid Fire Bulletin. Idaho Fish and Game will be hosting 6 public meetings for anglers to provide comments and opinions for spring and summer Chinook salmon fisheries. The meetings are slated for February, are free to attend, and, best of all, complimentary pizza and beverages will be provided. Input from anglers is important to help ensure the Chinook salmon returns are managed in a manner that is most satisfying to all who participate in these amazing fisheries. Meetings will be held in Coeur d'Alene, Cascade, Riggins, Lewiston, Nampa, and Orofino. Hit the link to learn more. Turkey hunters looking to apply for 2025 spring controlled turkey hunts can apply from February 1st to March 1st. Information on the spring 2025 controlled turkey hunts can be found in the 2024 through 2025 Upland Game, Fur Bearer, and Turkey Seasons and Rules booklet. Hunters must have a 2025 hunting license in order to apply for controlled hunts, and there is a non-refundable application fee of $6.25 for residents and $18 for non-residents. The Idaho Fish and Wildlife Foundation is accepting applications for its 2025 grant cycle. The grants program provides funding on a competitive basis to nonprofit organizations and government agencies. Grants up to $10,000 per project are available. To qualify for grants, projects generally address either habitat conservation, fish and wildlife management, conservation education, or a combination of the three. Hit the link to learn more. And last but not least, down in Chubbuck, the 18th annual Sportsmen Against Hunger event will take place on January 25th and January 26th at the CAL Ranch store. This free event runs from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. each day. Funds raised will help feed families, friends, and neighbors in need down in southeast Idaho. Last year's Sportsmen Against Hunger raised over $3,000 for the Idaho Food Bank in southeast Idaho. Check out Jenny Jackson's story to learn more. Okay, that's it for this week's stories. It's time for our question of the week. This week's question comes to us from Elias H. Shout out to my colleagues Joey Ashita and John Casanelli for some solid information on this one. Elias asks, if you're salmon or steelhead fishing anywhere in Idaho and you take someone with you, whether it's an in or out-of-state person, is it legal if the person you brought with you has had no luck and you happen to hook a fish and let him or her reel it in? Is that legal? And if so, would you tag the fish under your own tag or the person you brought? Good question, Elias. So according to page 52 of the Idaho Fish and Game's 2025-2027 Fishing Seasons and Rules booklet, when an adult Chinook salmon, coho salmon, or steelhead has been hooked, landed, and reduced to possession, it must be killed immediately and shall be counted in the limits of the person hooking the fish. Now, this is assuming both anglers have a valid fishing license for that year, in addition to a salmon or steelhead permit, and that the daily bag limit has not yet been met by either the angler hooking or the angler landing the fish. So, based on your question, with the above parameters, the act would be considered legal. Hope this helps. Hey, that's all the news we have for this week. Thanks for putting an ear to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast. If there's something on your mind or if you got a question related to Fish and Game matters, feel free to drop us a line at podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. Again, that's podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll catch you next week.